All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. All right, coming back through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Shai with another Sabbath sanctuary, um, episode 52, entitled Technological Addiction Will Be Weaponized. All right, and just through the spirit, something that I was meditating on last night on how technology is so like ingrained in society, right, in everybody's everyday lives, and even our lives, right, every day, we use technology, right, whether it be the phone, right, which your phone basically has everything you pretty much need when it comes to technology, but even like your cars now are technologically advanced, TV, everything, right? Our lives are centered around technology, buying and selling, right? You need people use Apple Pay now, so cash currency is not really being exchanged that much, or if you do like the tap to pay, which is all based off of the chip technology. So people, society Esau has created is centered around your ability to have technology available and use it, right? And what Esau has done is has made it that it's pretty much damn near impossible, right, to maneuver within society without technology, right? That's why you have like certain elderly people who don't have so-called smartphones that are kind of at a disadvantage, right? People that don't do online banking, right? They're at a disadvantage because society is no longer equipped to be able to be used if you're not doing everything via a smartphone or on a computer, things of that nature. So what I was meditating on was on how when Esau brings in this the chip, right, the C hip, um, that's just really just a added portion of this whole technological beast system, right? That's the part where now he's going to require you to be integrated with the technology, and because a lot of people already right have the need, right, and the addiction to technology, it would be very easy for them to have people right take the chip, right, because if they tell you that okay, well, you can't go on just for something simple, right, social media, you tell people that you can't use social media anymore, a lot of people are going to go crazy. They'll take the chip just off of that, right, just off of the fact of they can't go on TikTok or Instagram or all of these various social media platforms, which are not necessities, right? They're not things that you actually you actually need. Like for instance, banking, right? You in this society you need banking, but you don't need social media. So him being able to have all of that gift wrapped in all of that, being using that to coerce society to take the ship, a lot of people are going to do that, right? And that is the weaponization of technology that Esau is, really setting up the causes, right? The forming and fashioning people. And I was, thinking yesterday, I was talking to my son actually because, um, you know, kids nowadays they're on their, using iPad, a lot or a phone, whatever. So I was talking to him. I was just like, what do you think is the biggest addiction? And, I just asked him, I was like, what do you think is the biggest addiction right now? And he said, what he said, cigarettes, right? So he said cigarettes, and then he also said coffee. And I was like, coffee, pretty much a lot of people do drink coffee every day. So that's an addiction, right? They call what America runs on Dunkin', X, Y, and Z. So when I asked him about technology, I was like, what about technology? He was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. And it struck me because it's like to them, he doesn't think using the technology is an addiction, right? I mean, he's still, he's young, but people in general don't look at the fact that they're always, around their phone, always using their phone, always need technology as an addiction, so like an addiction, and it is, And for us, although we are in this world, we're not of the world. So the Lord has given us the mindset to although we use these things, and we, like I said, we use it every single day, right? Multiple times, throughout our day. When the time comes that we're going to have to separate from it, the Lord already has it in our minds and our spirits to be able to just, completely detach from it, and that is a beautiful, gift that the Lord gave us. Not saying that it's going to be like hard, it's not going to be hard, but it's a mindset that we already know that we're going to have to face. And most people don't even think about going a whole day, right? Let alone a week or a month, without any type of technology at all. Because if Esau presents the chip and they say that you can't buy yourself, you can't go on social media, you can't, use your car, right? You can't watch TV, you can't do none of these things, right? Because all of these things are surrounded by technology. People are going to say, well, what? I'm dead to this world, right? I don't exist. And that is where the scripture speaks about, the worshiping the beast, and if whoever does it shall be killed. That word killed going into being separated. You have to be willing to be separated from society at all levels in order to endure to the end. And that's a mindset that we constantly meditate on now, because we know that that is going to be the separation between those that worship the beast and those that don't. And we understand what the judgment is for those that worship the beast. So I don't really got a scripture right now, but if any brother got something, yeah, I can roll with it.
Hey, Khan, Shalom, Yabashmi, Shabrakatan. Yeah, as you were speaking, Zaquan, about how pretty much like your son didn't even, he said, yeah, I didn't even think about that, right? It's because we live in a society that I would call a technopolis, right? A society of technology, like you were explaining how, and it's going to be intensified where you have a technopolis that becomes a technopoly, right? Because all these technological companies will be in charge of everything by use of technology. Like you have Palantir, you have Oracle, all right, just to name a few. A lot of these companies that are from the Jays, right, the Israeli companies, they're being used ultimately to rule the world and weaponize it at the same time, right? So that's where your faith is going to have to come in, because if you have a technopolis, you're living in a technopolis, right, and then everything around you is being ran by a technopoly, because you have technocrats, you know what I'm saying, that run the world in that fashion. You're literally seeing the beast system come into life. And we're all believers, those who are of the elect, we're all gonna go through the moment like that of the three holy children in Babylon. Okay, being told that you have to worship the system, you have to be assimilated with the system, and not just, oh, we're okay with you just bowing down your head. Now we don't care about that. We want to have our device in you. That is the ultimate form of bowing your knee, bowing down. Okay, accepting this system or the way of this life as your only way to life. Okay, because that's how they're gonna present it. All right, if you don't take this thing, then you'll be subject to death. So by taking it, then you can live. But that's by who? By their power, their what you call it, their you know the perfect word is slipping my mind right now, but it's basically them giving you access, right? They're the ones in the authority to give you that access. That other than that, you get that from the Most High. Okay. So we are in the image, like in the book of Genesis, it says that the Heavenly Father says, well, let us create man in our image and likeness. Esau wants to change all that. Okay. And the first step of changing that is to put the she hip in people. That's his first step to the transhumanism ideology. Okay. I got a quick precept here. And this is the precept that we always bring out because, again, all roads lead to the MOTB. And we were talking about this even back in before the CV demic started, that all roads lead to the MOTB. Okay. We talked about how they were talking about masking. And then they said they're going. We said that they were going to say, "Oh, it's going to be the Vanessa," because at first they weren't even talking about the Vanessa yet, and we said that they're going to come out with that. All right, and then they're going to make it optional, and then they're going to make it mandatory. All right, they're going to tell you can't go to work. We said all these things was going to happen before they did. Okay, and then when they happened, we said, all right, well, they're going to change it from Vanessa to the MOTB. Remember that whole so-called contact tracing that they had? That was the setup. That was part of getting people assimilated. Okay, with the concept of having technology being a tracker, a technology that has to be a part of society. You have to have this in order to get back in normalcy, so to speak. You have to have this QR code if you want to go anywhere, right? Yeah, if you want to go into government buildings. See, right now they got this whole so-called real ID. If you want to travel domestically via airlines, you have to have your real ID. So it's constant. They have documents on the books right now with the FDA approving humans being microchipped. They have information on that already. Okay, so when we say all roads lead to the MOTB, it's quite literal. All roads lead to the MOTB. That's the last major prophecy before the end of this thing, man. Okay, and every single day we're seeing it build up every single day. All right, let's get this real quick. There's a book of Revelation chapter 13, and the Zaquan post Zaquan quoted this precept here. All right, it's a book of Revelation chapter 13 verse 15. It says that he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. All right, and that's being done through what? So-called artificial intelligence. Okay, Esau is literally openly coming out and saying, through this we're summoning a demon. Demon means intelligent. Okay, they're creating their own gods, algorithms. Okay, demon gods, so to speak. Okay, so it says what? It says that he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And so, like the Zaquan was saying, you're going to be basically excommunicated from society, and it's just going to be done by design. All right, this system is being built that way that if you don't comply, you're just not going to have access. It's just that simple. Okay, so your compliance is speaking to you worshiping the system. Okay, because they're gonna ask you to do things that you normally wouldn't do. Most people are not gonna take a C-hip if they were just given the option. Oh yeah, you can just do it or not. Most people are not gonna do that. But they have to put you in a situation where now it's become a life and death situation. That's the hour of temptation. Okay, seeing the world go on as you just sit there by yourself, being arrested, being fined, because that's how it's gonna start. They'll frustrate you. Okay, they'll frustrate you. They'll back you into a corner, and at that point, it's between you and your God. Okay. Oh yeah, brothers got it.
At a precept
Good.
is the book of 1 John chapter 2, verse 15. It says, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in this world, and the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of the Father abideth forever." Right? And you know how the brothers are saying this world is moving towards imprisoning you, and essentially, if you are an Israelite, not no longer making you, you know, a son of God, but in fact, a spawn of Satan. And that is why, if people out here living their life and they haven't made any real effort into overcoming that kind of lifestyle that everybody seems to be into, right? Like brothers was saying, people actually, when that thing became mandatory, people were taking it just so they can go to the club. Well, when you look at technology and social media and the likes and all the vein that comes with it, they make it the center of your life. And you see how Esau has funneled the world into a choke point to where now no one has any choice but to get down with the program that he's setting up. When he first came up with this whole iPhone, people didn't really have to get involved in that, but they bought into the advertisement and the vanity of this world. And slowly but surely, this world became entirely digitized, right? And now they're trying to figure out how they can escape it, but they just can't escape it. They keep crying out for privacy, but you ain't got no privacy. Why? Because they love the world. Whenever Esau came up with any shiny new thing, they just mindlessly, grabbed it, and then they ran with it, and they made it. They just became a mindless consumer, and now it's going to be they're heading towards a time where it's going to be weaponized against them, right? And it takes the Spirit of the Lord to extract a man from a world that is brainless, and this is why we're proud of the truth that we wield in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because it is what has kept our mind, holy or separated from the minds of this world. Yeah, we use the internet and, the technology, but we use it to proclaim the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. We use it in a way that prolongs us rather than imprisons us under Esau Edom. That's why at the end of the day, he doesn't want us on the scene, and that he's going to have to come and make war against the men of the Lord. All right. So it all began when this thing was given on to us, when the apostles wrote when the apostle John wrote this and sent it to us, when Yahweh Shai said this, Salakia. When Yahweh Shai said this, it seemed like, oh, love not the world. Oh, okay, well, it seemed like nothing to them, but they don't listen to it. And then now it's gotten to a point where you see why Yahweh Shai said, love not the world, because you allow yourself to be led to, well, what's that? The chopping block? Is that you allow yourself to be led to the chopping block, and now you actually see the threat, right, behind being mindless and being spiritual, right, and being spiritual as opposed to, I mean, now you see the threat to being mindless, right, when you should have been spiritual. Yeah, let me put it that way. So yeah, I mean, was a simple instruction: love not the world and the things that are in the world. But people didn't listen, and now they are just a bunch of robots that are just waiting to be decommissioned. So that's pretty much it.
Gone. Had a precept on this, but what you saying earlier, Zaquan, about when you asked your son the question and you mentioned technology, and he said I didn't even think about it, and he acknowledged that is actually a very good point, but it's just one that didn't come to mind, and that's because it's like breathing, right? Like nobody thinks breathing is an addiction, but you literally cannot live without breathing. You have to do it you have to consistently do it, even when you're thinking about it or not. But why doesn't anybody think, hey, I'm addicted to breathing? Because it feels already like a part of you that you need to do. It feels like it's a part of you that you need to live. So you never think of it like it's an addiction. And so technology has become a part of people that they need to live, that it goes into second nature, right? It's not something they actually think about doing. You don't think about walking, right? If you're going to go to the kitchen, you say, I'm going to the kitchen. And your mind is not even thinking about the fact that you're taking a left step and a right step. You're just thinking about getting to the kitchen and what you're going to do there. Because your brain is already past the part of actually walking. That's your brain works in like two ways. One is active, right? When you're actively doing something, and usually it's when you're learning a new skill or you're doing something that takes a lot of focus. The second is passive. When you're driving, most of the time, you're not really thinking about actually driving, shifting the gear, moving your foot from gas to accelerator, or gas to brake, and steering. You can do that instinctively, right? You can do that in second nature. You're worried more about if something crazy is going on the road, or if you're on the phone or something like that. Your brain can actually do that. So they've used technology so much and become so accustomed to it that it's gone into passive mode. You use it like it's a part of life without actually thinking about it. And that's a very dangerous thing. Why is that dangerous? Because somebody who gets into an accident, for example, and loses their ability to walk, realizes at that point it's when their eyes are opened to how much they cannot do without their legs, the legs that they didn't think about before, the things they just did, so freely, right? So likewise, a lot of people, especially the younger generation, because they have not known anything else. See, like we grew up in Ghana. So even though we may not be as old as, some older generation today that know what life was like before this advanced technology, we still had a similar experience because when we grew up, technology wasn't as advanced as it was here in America. So we could still be younger, but for us, it felt like the equivalent of those that are older here when they were younger. We weren't running around with cell phones. The hell was that? We literally lived life outside of the internet. We lived life outside of the closest form of technology you had was TV, that you could watch. Even using a phone, that wasn't something that was common. So a lot of that was new when we first came here to Babylon, that we were like, oh, oh, you can do this, oh, you can do that, oh, you can, what I'm saying? So we know what life was like. What we did for fun wasn't hopping on Fortnite or going on Instagram scrolling. We were out there actually running around, playing, riding bikes, and you get creative. You make games, you draw the little hopscotch little thing. We did all of those things, right? We socialized with each other. That was what was fun. We told stories, like adults telling you stories and stuff. So we could live a life without technology. But even for us, after coming here for a period of time and then going back, the lack of free access to the internet, the lack of the things that you had here felt different. And it takes a while to readjust, right? When you go back to that, even for us who grew up that way, how much more for those that only know this way of living where technology is your bread and butter? You don't know how to do anything else. And I remember when I first moved and I hadn't gotten the internet set up yet, yo, every single thing you think to go and do, you remember, oh yeah, I can't do that because I don't have the internet. And you think, okay, let me distract myself from not having the internet by doing this, and then realize this requires the internet. So you can't do that either. I'm like, all right, let me do some lessons. Okay, I could do lessons, but how am I going to upload it? So all these things, you start to realize you're blocked, you're blocked, you're blocked, you're blocked, you're blocked. And you don't think about these things because you go through those doors so frequently, right? Like people don't think about how often you even use water. You use water to brush your teeth, you go to wash the dishes. When you don't have water and they shut it off, then you realize, damn, fuck, I can't do nothing without water. So when they threaten your ability to access this technology, very, very easily people are going to succumb, because Esau didn't just say, yo, I'm going to take the world as it is and then push this technology on you. Like Haran said, nobody's going to give a damn if you brought this like 3, 4, 5 decades ago. They were used to living life without it. He first had to make them addicted to it. That's why, like, if you've ever used some of these new products, they'll give you a free trial, and they'll do it strategically to where the free trial is not short enough to where you're like, I didn't really get much into it anyway, so I'm good. But it's also not long enough to where you're like, I can use this without paying for more. They'll get you right in the middle where maybe you're uploading a file and you want it to convert it to a PDF. It'll convert it to a PDF, and then it'll show a little lock and says, hey, the PDF is converted, but in order to view it, you got to pay for the joint. So that's where they got the world, right? They got you tasting of it. You're very hungry. If you never tasted it, it's fine. But now you've tasted it and you want more. And now you're like, oh, hold on, slow down there, cowboy. I got a fine ass chick. If a fine ass chick, I had to take it there because that's the language Jake understands. If a fine ass chick if you never saw it, there's a Khan proverb, and if you don't see it, it's not ugly, right? So if you never saw her, you'd be fine. You'd be living your life. You'd be good. You didn't know she existed. Now imagine you find her and she seduces you and everything. You think you're about to get it on. You in the bedroom, everything is good. The music is playing. Jay Holiday, I'm gonna put you to bed. You getting all excited, and right when you get down, right to the nitty gritty, she's like, hold on, nah, you got to put a ring on this first.
Hey, it's a Sabbath, brother. It's a Sabbath.
Hey, brother, it's edification. So you thinking you also like, yo, hold on. At that point, you're gonna be real messed up because you have been better off not even meeting her than to be brought right to the edge and then told you cannot go. So now do I turn back or do I keep going? And you know what? It takes more discipline to turn back than to keep going. So most people are gonna say, fuck it, I'm already here. Shit, let me get on one knee and propose. And they're gonna give in. I see
that's gonna be that hour of temptation right there. That's why it's called an hour of temptation. Right? It's because it's like you have enough discipline to turn back and say, nah, this ain't mine. Or are you gonna follow? Yeah, fuck it. I mean, I'm already here. Look at that dance right there. Like yeah. So boom, there you go. But I was gonna say something before you might have a precept you want to bring out. As you were speaking about how they're trying to get people addicted, I noticed even at my workforce, I noticed how they started shifting. Just I think later part of last year, right into this year, they started shifting where there are certain apartment complexes. They're starting with the apartment complexes now, where they used to have like a 2-piece internet service. You have your modem and your router, and then you have to go to the store, pick it up, or they'll ship it to you, or whatever the case may be. But now what they're doing is they have this deal with the apartment complexes where each apartment will have its own set, right? It's just set up there. So when tenants come in, all they'll do is just change the name and password. So now your name goes onto that account device. So they'll put in a system where you don't have to own the device to be able to get internet. As soon as you get there, you call them, they'll be able to program it where your information is now on that device that you can use now. So in the previous tenant, his information is done. Once you come in, they reset everything. So you don't own the devices, but you have access to it. You see? So I started noticing, I'm like, damn, like that's crazy how they're literally bringing it into existence, whereas it's like a lifeline. Some of these devices, you don't even have to plug it into the wall, just plug it into each other and it powers up. I'm like, oh shit, like soon you're not even going to have internet. The devices itself is going to work. Okay, and speaking of that, and then when you go to the residential parts, they have this new modem router it has a battery pack. So even when the internet goes out for at least 8 hours, you could still use the internet without power. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like they're fiending for this. Like it's this new thing, but they're moving so fast with it. It's like almost every job you get, you gotta install that. I'm like, yo, what the like? This is annoying, you know. But these companies are all working together for the same thing. A lot of these companies that you may have, oh, I'm using Verizon or Optimum or T-Mobile or AT&T, Spectrum, whatever. Guess what? They all have a stake when they go to these World Economic Forum meetings. Okay, they all have a role to play, and their job is to keep everyone on the internet thing. You know, keep you online, keep you addicted, make your lifeline come from being online. Okay, so that way, once they cut it, you have no lifeline. You have to do something that they're gonna require you to do. Okay, you got Spain. They're pushing this whole internet anonymity because they're making the internet become the space of living. So everyone has to be identified. If you want to go on YouTube, well, we got to know who you are. You want to put comments about how you don't like how the government is running shit? We got to know exactly who you are, where you live, all of that. Okay? And it's all going to be programmed going into the Panopticon. They watch everything you say, everything you do is all over there. And then they tell you, oh, it's to keep you safe. We want to make sure that you're not radicalized. Shit like that. So this is the system that they're creating. Again, they're using people's addiction to create this system of imprisonment. All right, a prison without walls, so to speak, but without bars. Okay, J Brothers got it.
Yeah, I had a precept to add to Akim, and also a spiritual that y'all, that this lesson came up. I told y'all brothers how we lost power over here, and when that happens, all of the people have to snap into reality. The matrix gets shut off for a second, and people are left with themselves. Even my family, it was looking at me like, "Yo, what are we about to do?" And I was telling them like, "Yeah, what would y'all do without a man in a situation like this?" You see. But only in that type of situation is a man in general appreciated, let alone a man of the Lord. So it was like a little glimpse because, hey, the Lord gonna shut the lights off on this bitch permanently. Okay, there's gonna be that darkness you can feel just like Egypt. And if you don't have the covering of a man of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, your ass gonna be finished. All right, so this is right here, Luke 21 and 20 and 35. For as a snare, matter of fact, let me read up a little bit. Slap here. This is Luke 21 and 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. And that's an example, is the cares of this life is technology. All right. I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says here in the NLT, Luke 21 and 34, watch out. Don't let your hearts be dulled by carousing and drunkenness and by the worries of this life. Don't let that day catch you unaware. And that's how it's going to come upon these people, because they are caught up in the matrix. They are caught up in technology, and especially these women, because social media and everything, YouTube, they're able to monetize attention, or just get attention in general as a currency. They want to be models, they want to show off their bodies, they want to do this and that. Okay, when the Lord cuts that off, they're not going to know what to do with themselves, because they're not used to reality. They're not used to real life. This is not real life. The technology and everything that we've been accustomed to. All right, which even us, we use technology, as the brother said, regularly. This is a part, even when shit went out, I'm like, damn, what am I about to do? I can't do the lesson with brothers. The Wadi Abba Shemiah shot of power came on. But I was, as soon as it went out, I started praising the Lord. I was like, hey, Kolo, y'all bashim y'all shy. And, I wasn't scared because I'm like, you know what? The Lord gonna get me through this either way. So but these people, they don't have the name of the Most High and the name of His Son to call on. So when that comes, when the power goes out, all right, you might have a power bank, and then the power bank goes out, and then the phone goes out, and then you just left there with your thoughts. And what have you been doing the whole time? Being wicked, being vain, okay, trying to get attention from strangers online, okay, not actually getting a real husband. You would rather have attention from all these different strangers and these different options and be, what's the word I'm looking for? Wonton, okay? And it goes to men and women, all right? Because men have become effeminate, all right? But when that happens, man, when it gets cut off, and that's where the next verse comes in, it says, "Don't let that day catch you unaware, like a trap, for that day will come upon everyone living on the earth, okay, as a snare," right? And when we get the word there for snare, a snare is what? Okay, the word is pagasi, and it says snare, trap, noose, of snares in which birds are entangled and caught, implies unexpectedly, suddenly, because birds and beasts are caught unaware. That's what the Lord likens you people unto, birds and beasts that are unaware. Okay, a bird doesn't know, he's just flying, going about his day. When the day comes, when he gets caught in a snare, in a trap, then he knows, and he knows that it's his end. Then he starts to panic. Then his heart beating out of his chest. He knows that he's dead. Okay? Same thing with wild beasts. That's what you people are liking unto, because you're just going to be living your life, soaring through the sky. All right? With the analogy here, okay? Comparative to a bird that's going to get caught in a snare, and when the day comes, boom, or a fish that's caught in a net. Okay? Swimming through the ocean, minding your own business, and then before you know it, you caught up. Okay, and that digital world is there to ensnare you, okay, to trap you, okay, and it changes your biochemistry, it changes your brain, man. Like the brother said, I think Bukhara, you had gone into it about basically the dopamine. Basically, like, you get a dopamine spike when you see things online, and then over time, what happens is your dopamine receptors get worn out, and that's what leads to depression. That's why the scripture also says the love of many shall wax cold. Okay. And it also says here in the Greek, a snare, whatever brings peril, loss, destruction, of a sudden and unexpected deadly peril, of the allurements and seductions of sin, the allurements to sin by which the devil holds one bound. Okay. The snares of love. Okay. And what do they love? They love this world. They love, they cannot envision a world without technology. They cannot envision a world without a smartphone. So much to the point where they're like, fuck it, put it inside of my body. That's how much these people are ensnared to it. They're like, fuck it, I want to be a part of the system for eternity, and put that device up inside me, the MOTB, so I could be a part of it forever. So that's how it's going to come, as a snare. So if you don't have the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you're going to get caught in that. All right, but y'all brothers got it.
Yeah, as y'all were just speaking about the whole um, chemical reaction that your brain has to, technology and scrolling and all these things. And it's actually, a diligent search that Esau did, because when you think about most addictions, it has to deal with something that you pretty much consume, right? And it goes into your body, and then whatever substance it is, it changes your chemical makeup. But this, with technology, it's actually, a real deceptive type of addiction, because people, like how we mentioned before, people don't realize that it's an actually addiction, that it's something that's actually changing their chemical structure. And yesterday, right, when I was meditating on this title, right, on this lesson, I was thinking, I was like doing a little research, and when you go into how the brothers mentioned about the the dopamine, and the spikes in it, and then the fact that if you don't end up getting it to a certain level, then you basically go back for more, and it's harder to get to feel that spike. So you just legit just spend your whole entire time, your whole entire day, just constantly trying to look for that, fix. And what Esau did was it's an actual attack on your central nervous system. And your central nervous system. I went down like a little rabbit hole, but I went into like what depressants, right, are for, right? The actual depressant drugs are for, and what they do. And it actually it causes a block in your central nerves inhibitors. It's an inhibitor to block, basically to block your feelings. And because people that are depressed, they're basically feeling too much, right? They're feeling sadness or whatever negative emotions that they're having. They're feeling that is too much for them. So what the depressant does, it basically inhibits that feeling, right, to a extreme level, and that's what causes people to basically become numb. And to them, they're able to now think more clearly, and they're able to, like, operate within their day, because they're not feeling that negative emotion as much. So when this devil, gives drugs, right? When he, has technology, which basically is another form of a drug, he's actually is literally attacking your system. Like, he's attacking your spirit, but on a physical level, because it's all connected, right? Your central nervous system. I was thinking about it, I was like, yo, this devil really did a diligent search into finding out that the human body's central nervous system, like, what are you doing right now? And he didn't do it. And he didn't search this to, make things better for you. He searched it so find a way that he could manipulate it, that he could actually play on it. And that is what a witch is. He literally did sorcery, witchcraft on people, via, his different means, so that he can control them and he can manipulate them and really have them disconnected from spiritually thinking, right? Because most people, they look at social media, not even social media, they look at technology as a lifeline, right? Something that they need in order to survive. And in itself, that becomes an idol. So Esau created this as an idol, and it has the ability to take it away from you. And when he takes this away from you, not only is he just going to take away technology, but he's also created, as we say, a society that, in order for you to literally live, right, to get food, right, to get shelter, to get these things, you need technology. Because when it gets to a point where physical cash is not a thing, then you're going to need digital cash. And in order to have digital currency, you're going to need technology. So he's making it to where he's merging your addiction to the things that you literally need in life, and making that all one, and then telling the people, well, you're going to need to have to take this, charagma, in order for you to have any of this, all of it, really. And that in itself is going to be something that, people are going to be willing to do, because to them, that's life, right? If you move out the ability to get food, if you take that out of the equation, but still say, you know what, you can't have any technology, people will say, you know what, I'll still do this because this is my life. I need this. You have some people say, without technology, like, streamers, they make money on social media, make a living off of social media. We people that are work, with computers, we need computers in order to do our job. So that's a life what is it, a livelihood, as they call it, a livelihood. But this is why the scripture says this here, in the book of Second Ezra, the 16th chapter, verse where is it, 40, start at 40. It says, listen, and this is in the GNT, listen to my message, my people, and get ready for the battle. When the disasters come, you must live as people. You must live as people whose home is not in this world, which in the KJV, it says, be ready to be pilgrims upon the earth, right? And the mindset of a pilgrim is to do what? Is you're not tied to wherever you're at, right? This isn't your rest. This is why these scriptures that we, constantly quote, has to really resonate in your spirit, in your mind. Like, you can't just be, saying these things, but you got to actually become one, with the thought process that's in these scriptures, which is the Holy Spirit. Because when that time comes, you're going to have to be able to be willing to detach and not have something that you've always are accustomed to have, right? And we speak, I speak for myself personally, right? I've never gone, 24 hours without zero technology in my life, because of how vital or how important it is in your day-to-day life. But the time is coming to where that's going to be our reality. And if you're not in a mindset, which majority of people don't even think about that, right? And that's what even separates us. Majority of people don't even think about not even having technology at all. Like that's not even a thought. So for us, we're even ahead of the curve because we even think about those things. We meditate on not having, cell phones, not being able to communicate with one another, which, with brothers, using a phone. We think about not being able to go to a grocery store and, buying food. So the fact that we are already meditating on these things, and we're not saying it to the sense of like, all right, well, I'm going to be good because my own merit. We're saying that the Lord is going to provide for us in this time. And the fact that we have that faith is what separates us, what gives us comfort, right? As it says in the book of Isaiah 26, right? Let me actually get that real quick. Thou shalt keep him in perfect peace. Isaiah 26, verse 4. Salakia 3. It says, Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. See, our minds are stayed on Yahweh Ba'ashem our shot. Our dopamine that we get is from, serving the Lord, right? Is the feeling that all brothers attest, the feelings that we get from, doing videos and, edifying or, finding out, information that pertains to the scriptures, looking at news and seeing how it links to prophecy, all of that actually excites us. It gives us peace. It gives us happiness. So our dopamine isn't, even although we may use technology to do it, our dopamine isn't the technology itself. The dopamine is really the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai supping with us and giving us that knowledge and wisdom. Got something, brother?
Yeah, I just want to add something real quick. That's the feeling we get when we study, when we go into the scriptures, and you don't need a phone to do that. You can just open the sword, open the regular Bible, you read it, and the Lord gives you revelations and different insights about the scriptures. You feel a high off of that. So that's like a healthy addiction, but these people have an unhealthy addiction, which is, there's a balance to everything. But you got it.
Yep. And their addiction is tied to things that, they use the technology to fulfill the lusts of their flesh, as the brother Ayash read earlier, right? They use these things for the flesh, for the carnal, for their minds, for their physical, right? We're using it for the spiritual aspect of it. So it says, trust, Salakia, thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. See? So when that time comes where we're going to have to detach, we're going to have to be pilgrims upon the earth. We're not going to have a feeling of withdrawal from the ability of not having, technology, because this is something that we are already expect. This is something that we are already, in our minds, willing to detach from. But it is going to be a temptation, a trial, a test, because it's something that we've never actually done in the physical. Being able to not buy and sell, right? Being able to not communicate with, with people, being able to not use the internet, these various different things. But if your mind is in the right place, if you are trusting in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, then as the Lord said, I will keep you right in this time, because you have kept the word of my patience. And that's what people don't realize. And you even seen it during the lockdown, right? Internet, people say that internet, but people were going crazy because of their inability to just move freely. And for us, we was in the house. Me and the brother Ali always talk about it. That was the best time of our lives during the lockdowns. It was the best time of our brother's lives, because it's like, yo, we're not even of this world anyway. So you see this world, get locked down. It's like, fuck it, that's what's up. Everybody miserable, but we happy, and that's how the Lord didn't give us the spirit of this world. You see, but going back to 2nd Ezra 16, verse 42, it says, merchants must not expect to make a profit from what they sell. They must be ready to run for their lives. Their customers who expect to lose whatever, so like it, their customers must expect to lose whatever they buy. Whoever builds a house should not plan to live in it. Farmers should not expect to harvest their crops or pick their grapes. Those who marry must not expect to have children, and those who don't marry must live as though they had been widowed. Anything that is done will be useless. See? So anything of this world, because as the scripture, as Paul said, that the fashions of this world are fading away, right? So you have to expect that this world and which we're seeing, all the things of this world are useless. Yes, they have their, purposes, but when it comes to the grand scheme of things, it's all useless. And we see the actual negative aspect of technology, right? We see the actual evilness that has been pushed and promoted and expanded because of this addiction that people have. So when that goes away, you're going to see a lot of people. They're going to lose it. Their stability is going to be completely thrown off. You see it happening. You see it happen all the time when you have those outages, or you have those where AT&T has a hack and everything is down. People go crazy. You see. So how much more if that happens on for everything, cyber attack, which I got it.
I had a quick
It's
point
crazy
too.
how
Oh, go ahead, Ayash. You got it. You got it, bro.
nah. It's crazy how, like, I mean, brothers put in the chat that they make the smartphone to make things better, but it really just like makes things really bad for you. And it puts you in a kind of, the scripture says, like a dead person, right? So I'm reading here. It says, what technology does. It, I guess, it takes away your like ability to remember. Like back then, people could remember all your friends' phone number, your mom, your father, your sister. Now you don't remember any of that. You don't even remember your own password. You gotta have all these things in there. And then it goes on to say that it also takes away like decision making. People don't even make decisions anymore, right? So you have all these things going on. Another thing also was the attention span. The brothers talked about how people they can't even observe the world around them. So they don't remember the past. They don't make decisions. They can't observe. It's almost like they're dead. And it also says like what it isolates them. Okay, so this is something that speaks to Esau's true nature as the devil, because here he makes something that's supposed to be a leap for humanity, right? He's always talking about how his inventions are the greatest thing that could ever happen to humans, but then come to find out that this just created like a community of zombies. Everyone who is so wired into these technologies are comparable to like dead bodies, you know, and that's why, only those with the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai can actually overcome what's going on, because a dead person really can't help themselves, and it's just funny when I'm reading all these. There's a lot of it. I'm not going to read all of it, but when you go through all of it, it just pretty much explains and shows you how the thing that's supposed to quicken you, like how a Bible will quicken your spirit and makes you a living person, this does not quicken. It does the opposite. It strikes you down, right? It keeps you in a freaking grave in Sheol, and that's just the opposite side of it all. That's why in the end, the living will be the ones that escape, and the dead will be the ones that can't go nowhere. So it's just really funny, and I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, hey, it says at the time that the dead shall be judged. So that's all a part of that, being dead. But it's what I was gonna say is I was actually meditating this. It's a spirit that this topic came up because I was meditating on it yesterday. I was making soup and I was using okra and things like I didn't usually use. So I just went to AI, like when do I add it? And I'm like, man, like you see how it appeals to people, and basically like you don't have to have a brain no more. AI will have a brain for you. And that's basically where they want the people at. Because you like, man, like if you look at it, you don't have any understanding, you will say, well, this is actually helpful, having access to all this information and things like that. But it doesn't actually, the knowledge doesn't come from Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, it's from the left hand. So it just it cripples you, it's a crutch, and it destroys you over time, And instead of, looking into things now, it's automatic. Like, things can be, you could look something up, obscure details and facts, and just have it on the spot. And you would think that would be beneficial, but it actually is destroying people, because the actual brain function. And actually, I had pulled up on the share screen. Yeah, there we go. The water. Going into this, all right, and I'm gonna read it. It says, technology dopamine addiction is a behavioral disorder where excessive screen time, social media, gaming, or short form videos that a TikTok, that's why they call it TikTok brain. And if you notice, what it's doing to people's brain chemistry is causing them to be erratic. It's causing them to be basically like crackheads, man. And also, people have no patience, for something to take longer than 30 seconds. Like, oh my God, I can't handle this. Like, what's the hold up? What's the hold up? People have no patience. The virtues of a man of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. People have those. The population of the world is becoming further and further and further from it. So
Hey, the
now it's like,
scriptures, just to add to your point, I just wanted to say that one thing. The scripture says in the last days that incontinency shall grow, which when you go into that word is a lack of self-control. So as you just saying, because of the TikTok brain, because of the short attention span, people literally can't control themselves, right? They can't control themselves and they can't have patience. And it's not like they could be learned to do it. They're actually, it's being destroyed. Like strategically, their ability to have self-control is being destroyed.
yep, beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly the point. Is that these people they don't have the ability to just have any sort of discipline anymore. Discipline is a lost art. It's a lost skill because now it's a microwave generation. Everything is 30 seconds less. TikTok, information, blah 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 blah. You know, and half the time now, because they muddy the waters, the information you're getting on social media, a lot of it is all bullshit. It's not even true. They just throw shit out there. A lot of these so-called conspiracy pages and shit throwing out just ridiculous things. A lot of it is AI. So now that knowledge that, it could have been access to a certain knowledge, which, we use it. It's a tool. Okay. We use it, but we use it in the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. We don't use it as the world uses it. But now you have it to where they muddy the waters with AI to where you don't even know what's real and what isn't anymore. All right. So when you're on there, your mind is being constantly bombarded. All right. It's like a battlefield. It's like a war. Okay. A war of information. Okay. And if you notice, they've been popping up with a lot more pages trying to claim to break down the Bible, AI breakdowns of the Bible, a bunch of crazy ass they start talking about Enoch, the fallen angel, all types of shit. They don't even know what the MOTB is, but they want to tell you about the fallen angels and all types of madness. You see? So, but they miss out on the simplicity in Yahweh Shai. All right, but I'm gonna read. Any brother want to jump in, feel free. It says it triggers constant rapid dopamine releases in the brain's reward pathway. This creates a high stimulation cycle that desensitizes the brain, increasing tolerance and driving compulsive addictive behaviors similar to substance abuse. And that's from the NIH, okay, National Institute of Health. Okay, so your own institutes are telling you that the technology that they're giving you is destroying you, let alone the electromagnetic pollution. The phones, also technology in general, and all of these different frequencies, it lowers your immune system because your body reacts to those external stimuli. Electromagnetic, and they did this research on this when these type of technologies were getting big decades ago, 50s, 60s, 70s. The military did studies to see how it would affect people, and they knew exactly how damaging it would be. And a lot of the whistleblowers, you got it.
No, I was going to say, just to add, when they created their first computer and they put it for sale, they sold it for $666. So they already knew that right there. It tells you that this is the man. And because that was a part, and they have it as an apple, although we know that there's no, actual apple that Eve bit, but it's a symbology of that forbidden, fruit and knowledge that they're giving to the people. That's why it's an apple, big, and that knowledge was what Eve saw to make her wise, right? It said it was good to the eyes, it was good to the good for taste and knowledge to make one wise. And that's left hand because when you, as a brother, you just said, when you know use technology, you can get knowledge, wisdom at an instant. You can get something instant. So instead of having to go to a cookbook and having to, try to figure out how to make something, hey, how do I make X, Y, and Z? It's going to give you it right then and there, give you the step by step. You see, so when people look at that as, oh, this is good. This is some type of information that's making me wise. Why would I not want this? So they're promoting and not realizing the actual chain and the actual destruction that is taking place. Because as we're reading, what is physically happening to your chemical makeup? What is happening to your mind? Your mind is deteriorating by you trying to uphold and take hold of this wisdom on the left hand. But Salakia, you got it.
Yeah, no, great point. That's exactly what they're doing, and that's a very important comparison too of going back to the garden. All right, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Essentially, the same thing is happening now. You have instantaneous access to these things, right? But he has to do it through left-handed means. So what's the consequence of all this? He can't get it through just having knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He doesn't intrinsically have it. So he has to make an artificial brain, which is what AI, the processing centers and all that, to do it. And that artificial brain destroys the environment. They said it's millions and millions and millions upon millions of gallons of water just to keep them from overheating. And what's going to happen to the water supply? What's going to happen to, all of these things? Now they have to go and to fix that problem, they have to go try to figure out how to make ocean water drinkable, to desalinate ocean water. All right. And then that has its own effect. And then it just constantly keeps dominoing. It's just avalanche out of control,
Hey,
Hey,
this devil,
some of these data centers.
so like my bad, I got you. This devil, Bill Gates said he basically funded, and I know brothers seen it before, some type of company that makes your sewage water drinkable, right? And actual with feces in it and all that. There's some type of mechanism that they have. It's like, what? Right here, there's nothing but waste and all this, and it comes out clean.
Certain ignorance needs to remain bliss, and
Be not ignorant of any matter, brother. Small or great.
Yep. They had that one video of Obama drinking. I think he was drinking it, and it was like had a cup, and he put his lip his lip touched the water, and that was it. Me acting like he's drinking that shit. He ain't drinking that. That's for the useless eaters, man. Yeah, the point, Ayash.
No, yeah, no. I was just gonna say some of these data centers they just put it underwater. Like they don't go through all the trouble of like throwing water on it. They just like completely submerged, and then that's just how they got to keep it that way.
But don't they have to replace the water because, I don't know if they. I mean, I guess that's to try to like go like sidestep what's happening. But
Yeah, I
after
don't
a
know how
while,
they do that shit.
yeah, I mean, it's because the water is gonna evaporate, right, from the heating. So then they'll have to replace it with more. So inevitably, he just has to have these resources to continue to do that. But reading on, it says the dopamine loop. Platforms like social media are designed to provide instant rewards, likes, comments, infinite scroll, that creates a desire loop, encouraging constant checking. And down here is the points I wanted to get.
Slakia, real quick before you mentioned that part, when you mentioned social media, there's something called doom scrolling, right? That they New York City tap water, drink up. It's a inside joke. But they mentioned doom scrolling, which is what they call it, right? Where you sit there and hours go by and you're just scrolling and scrolling, and it's called doom scrolling because it's like you're trapped in a trance of just literally just like that. And when you lift your head up, it's like 2 or 3 hours that has already gone by. That leads to something called, I don't know if it's in here, but it's called brain rot, which I looked it up, which we all know what brain rot is. But brain rot was, there was a time where you would really get that through social media. Like once upon a time, you had Vines, right? People used to go on Vines, and that was like the thing, right? It used to be Musical.ly, then it became Vines, and everybody would always watch those short clips. But at least people were being somewhat creative to think about, these like little clips that they would do. And now people don't even make creative, authentic clips. They just type in a prompt into AI to generate a video and then throw it on your feed. Okay. So when you're scrolling through, people used to get brain rot mainly from social media. Now they're getting it, like ICR said, from these AI chatbots, which are doing the thinking for you. That's the whole point. It is smarter so you can be dumber. So you don't have to use your brain to think anymore. If you notice, they call these things, they prefix it with smart, right? You have a smartphone, right? You have, why would a smart person need a smartphone if they're already smart? Smartphones are for dumb people. Okay. So you have a smartphone, a smart home, a smart TV, everything is smart. What is that making you? And that's the society that they've I got you, bro. That's the society that they've set up over here, and that's the danger. So like brothers was saying, I forgot who said it, but they said you would be at a cognitive disadvantage if you do not adopt AI. And you know what the next step is going to be? The first step is, if you do not use AI as an assistant, you're going to be at a disadvantage, because it's going to take you longer to do something that everybody else, count the water, Mark Zuckerberg, everybody else does much quicker. They said that engineers, I think at was it Anthropic? They said some of them haven't even touched code in months, because Claude, just codes for them, and they just look at it and inspect it. So the next step for that soon is going to be those that use AI to do things for them. They're going to be at a disadvantage compared to those that have merged with AI or merged with technology, where it's now a part of them. Like if you're familiar with Blue Beetle, where he had the scarab, planted in, and it's like a voice in his head, and he doesn't even sometimes control himself; it controls him. So that's basically where the point they're trying to take you to be. Now think about it. If you're controlled by this AI, and you now, like they do with cars, can go into autopilot mode and have some device basically moving you along, what happens when they assume control of that device? Now you're like a mindless zombie. But yeah, that's it. I know some brothers have some points on there.
Yeah, I think that's what they called intuitive technology, where whenever they make something advanced, what they call it smart, it's because it's in a way where you can be dumb. So like computers today, back then it was very data driven, heavy rules. You have to actually like go out and study, learn how to use a computer. They didn't have a mouse, so you had to like fucking type around, do all this shit. But now they just give you a mouse. Once you just grab it, just say whatever you want to say. Now they got voice commands. They got Siri, and now they got AI. And so this is what smart technology really means. It means so you can be comfortable being dumb. So like the brother was saying, that's what's called like intuitive technology. It advances so that you don't have to, stress your mind on how to use it. And that's just the rule as it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they have the phrase turn your brain off. A lot of people like to play games where it's like there's no, a lot of the game, like when we grew up, you had to actually think when you play some of these video games, right? You had to actually problem solve, it would be challenging. And now the game is just like, go to step one, and from step one they send you to step, it's like they let you shut your brain off and you just mindlessly play this shit, and that's and people love it. People actually embrace shutting their brain off, man. So what is that going to lead to? When the time where you actually have to use your fucking brain, all right, the time you actually have to use your head for more than a hat rack, like the apostles say, all right, you're not going to be able to, okay, because you're just going to be used to somebody else thinking for you. 1984 shit, man.
Yeah, I wanted to show because brothers was talking about the AI ability, to basically how Mark Zuckerberg said that you're going to be at a disadvantage if you don't use AI. And you have all of these, technocrats that make that same sentiment, which they, are saying that, AI is not going to replace you, but somebody using AI will replace you. And it's really somebody merged with AI that is going to be replaced. That's going to be the new employee, quote unquote, because if they're already saying that AI, the Microsoft AI CEO said that within the next 12 to 18 months, all white collar jobs are going to be, obsolete because they're going to be automated. So he said that anything done on a computer will basically be done by AI. Elon Musk said that AI is already at 2026 is already at singularity. So they are already, and we've made this statement plenty of times before. The technology that you have on your AI with your Snapchat, they got something far above that, behind the closed doors. You see, this is why they could make these statements because they already know what's coming down the pipeline. These are the people that are working with the technology. So when Elon Musk says that I'm amazed 2 or 3 times a week at how much AI can do, then how far advanced is it really? If they're able to make these statements at WEF, right, these TED talks speaking about it's going to be obsolete, money's going to be obsolete, you won't need a 401k, you're not going to have a job. That means that they already know what this technology can do. Now, there was a movie that came out, which I just want to show a small clip, came out back in 2018, before AI was, really popular and big right now, especially the agentic AI, which, people are accustomed to now. Before that, was big, you had this movie called Upgrade, which ironically, right, the name of that, which this guy, he ended up, long story short, if you haven't seen the movie, I know some people haven't seen it. Um, um, this guy, he basically ended up getting shot and he got paralyzed. And then he was offered this new, groundbreaking technology that will be able to give him his motive functions back, right? Same thing with Neuralink that they're speaking about being able to give people the ability to have their motor function back. But with this, it was like I said, it was like groundbreaking. So it was far beyond just being able to have your motor function. It was able to actually, upgrade your abilities. Period. So in this scene, right, this is a kitchen fight scene. This guy basically was getting his ass whipped because he was afraid to basically fight, and he got to a point where the dude was basically overpowering him. Let me know if y'all can hear this.
Why are you making me do this?
Let me know if you need my help.
So the guy, when you hear the voice, right, there's a stem, it's in this guy's head. And he's getting basically, this guy is getting beat up by this person, right? So listen to what he says.
Why are you making me do this?
Let me know if you need my help, Graves.
Stop! Help!
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
Okay, Stem, what are we doing, man?
Just relax.
What the fuck? Oh, God, dude! Oh, look, man, stay down, please. Please don't get up. Please don't get up. Please. Stay down, man. Sam, he's got a knife! Sam!
I can see that. We have no key.
Ow! You stabbed him! You're trying to piss him off? Okay. All right, so what's the plan? What are we doing? Stop him!
So yeah, that's basically a demon It basically took over his body, right? Invaded the invader of body snatchers right there. And this is what, really they want to get to this point where they want to be able to have their technology, right, and the ability to have their technology take over your actual vessel, right, and that's how you basically become um, their entity, right? You become made in their image, which is what this devil is trying to do, right? He wants to create man in his image. See, and I was thinking about how we was talking about it before, where they talk about like the information, right? That you could just ask AI. Well, when this gets to a point where they put the brain CF in your body, in your mind, what do they also say they'll be able to do? You'll be able to download information into your head. Now, I don't know if the Lord's going to allow us. The Lord willing, we're not here at that point. But you can only just imagine if that was actually something that was being done in society, where people are just walking around and having information just downloaded into their minds. They'll be a completely different person because information, it changes you. Knowledge, it changes you. So if you ask somebody, if they say, "Oh, download X, Y, and Z," into them, people are fucking demons. They gonna want to get the weirdest, most craziest shit downloaded into their brain. Nobody's thinking about the Lord or download all of the knowledge, even though you can't. But they're not gonna think about that. They gonna think about some weird shit, man. Because you see what people think about already online. The type of content that they make online now. So this is how we have to be at the end of this thing, because if they're already speaking like they have that ability, that technology, then as the Lord said, there'll truly be no flesh to be saved, which I got it.
Yeah, I wanted to mention real quick, when we were watching that, if you notice, like a lot of the effects of what Esau is doing is which, like the scriptures mention sorcery tied to this place for a reason. And a part of the deception that Esau went with is he didn't just pull out the same mold as before. It's the same effect, but he's using a different means to go about it. Because technology is still a manipulation of reality using elements, if you really think about it. But people don't think of technology as sorceries. They just think of it as technology. So with what you just showed right there, that's like the equivalent of when you read about in the book of Acts, where that woman had the spirit on her and she was able to divine for her masters, but here they would have a implant in them that is going to behave like that spirit, like that demon inside of you, like STEM, you know what I'm saying? Telling you, hey, like, what does this mean? Or I'm looking at this right now. Do I make a right? Do I make a left? What should I do? And it's basically telling you all those things. Now, your brain, the people think that it's far-fetched, but what we saw in that movie is actually not far-fetched at all, because your brain sends signals to your nervous system to control your body. All right. It's literally signals sent throughout your nerves that cause you to move your arms and all of that. That's coming from your brain. And when they introduce, which they have, the BCI, brain computer interface, an interface works both ways. Okay, it's to both send and to receive. And so if they can hijack your brain to send in information to your brain, they can also send information forth as your brain. That's like the man in the middle. It doesn't have to be your brain itself, but it can replicate those same signals to your nerves. So here it is. That's why he was conscious while STEM was controlling his body, because it can send signals to the nerves that control your actual body while you're still conscious alive. You're like in a sunken place or in the passenger seat, and it jumps in the driver's seat. That's like being a modern day medium, right? Or being dealing with a familiar spirit through technology. People don't look at it that way though, but that's what it is. The demons nowadays don't have to just jump and take hold of your of your vessel, like they did in the ancient world. They can go through the means of technology. Esau Edom knows that. All right. And behind the scenes, that's what they're doing. But if they were to tell you, hey, come and lay down, let's draw a pentagram around you using blood and do some rituals over you to give you some knowledge of ancient things, who's going to sign up for that? But if they say, hey, come, let's put an implant inside of you and you'll be able to have a digital avatar and know anything on the fly, like the Matrix, and have these things programmed directly into your head. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, let me sign up for that. It's the same thing. That's why they call Christmas Christmas. But you're worshiping deities of old. It just has Christmas carols to go along with it and lights. But it's literally modern day. These are modern day sorcerers, modern day witches and warlock. They worship data, and their priests are these scientists. That's the Chaldeans of the modern day. Okay, they are performing sorcery through technology, through witchcraft. And when they start to get these people, it's, if you look at it, it's literally witchcraft through technology. When you go into Revelation 13 and it talks about the image to the idol and the image to the beast, that's likened onto an idol that was made alive, and you're actually bowing down to it. The Lord looks at it like that. He looks at it, even though we see it in the technological sense, the Lord looks at it as this is another idol that man have made in their image, the image to the beast, and they're trying to entice you to bow down and serve it. Just like men would pass their children through the fire to Molech in the past, this is just a more modernized example of witchcraft all over again using technology. That's it. That's it. That's it.
I had a precept to add to that. Psalms 127 and 1, a song of degrees for Solomon. Except Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. And I'm bringing that out because, you know, everything that they're building their house up. They're doing everything to, you know, solidify this position. You know, as it is written, when he's ready to fill his belly, the Lord will bring the wrath upon him. Paraphrasing it. All right, so you know they could do and spend all these billions and billions and trillions of dollars on AI, building up their system, building up their house, but the Lord is not with them. All right, for all of the benefits that you have from AI, you know, which there are benefits. Don't get me wrong. In terms of knowledge, it could be used for other things too, but that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's happening, and that's not what's going to happen. Okay, because they're building it in vain. All right, they're not building it in reverence to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. They're not building it in reverence to a higher power, okay, to the higher power. They're building it to exalt themselves. They're building it, and they don't serve the Lord. So no matter what you do, all right, it's just like Cain's sacrifice. All right, it goes up and is not accepted with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. All right, because you're not bringing the sacrifice in the right spirit. All right, so everything he's doing is vain. All right, everything he's doing is empty. Everything he's doing, the Lord is going to annihilate it. All right, because it's wicked. You know, it's all upside down. But y'all got it.
Yeah, I got this precept here. The book of James, chapter 4, verse 4. It says, "Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of the Most High." Right. And, you know, this is why, you know, the scripture speaks about, you know, not being entangled, right, with the affairs of this world, because Esau is going to use the entanglement, right, as we going into, as a weapon, right? He is going to weaponize how entrenched you are into this world, and only through the scriptures do we get the understanding that the whole world lies in wickedness, right? You have people that think like, oh, you know, there's certain good things of the world. This whole thing, you got to delete all that shit, man. Right? This whole thing, that Esau's whole system is flawed. It's wicked. That's why it says in Revelation, destroyed him, which destroyed the earth. And as I was going to that word, the moral decay, the ethical decay, and it really got to a point where it was worldwide through technology. All right, the wine of her fornication was really poured out through technology. That's what Esau used. So even with the whole AI, as we see, like the whole AI race, who's really at the forefront of it? It's Esau. Now they talk about, you know, China, right? Moab also doing it, but really Moab is doing it because Esau's doing it. It's Esau is the one that's pushing this new AI frontier. But it's all, that's just another, segment, or should I say another building block to this whole technological beast that he created from the first place, as a brother was going into this idol that he created to make alive, right? To speak, to have people, entangled with and prison to. And it's all really, forwards the actual image of the beast, which is Esau's ideologies, because it's through technology that the image of the first beast is really promoted now. The whole ancient Roman ways, it's all through. You see what you got: pornography, right, on the internet. You got harlots, you got whores, you got all of this shit that goes back to the first beast that Esau had during the Roman Empire. We all have it now in this day and age through the second beast, but majority of it is seen where on through technology, right? It's through your internet, and the beautiful how the Lord did it, where it's also used the internet to push out this truth. But that is a small sanctuary, right? It's a small seed amongst, right, all of this debauchery that the Lord is really keeping his eye on. That's why he says, "Let the multitude perish, which was in vain, but let the cluster of my grape be kept, because through much labor have I made it perfect." And he's done that through what? Through the ministry of the prophets, which is all through the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. See, which I got it if y'all got anything.
I had two more precepts. Real quick. Daniel 12:4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even till the time of the end, which we know we're at the end now, right? Based off the prophecies that we see unfolding. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. You see? So the end is associated with what? Knowledge being increased. All right. So even though people know more than ever, somehow they are the most unwise they've ever been. In the most darkness they've ever been, but they know all these things. And that goes to show you that you can know all these different things, but if you don't have the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, it means nothing. Just having a bunch of miscellaneous facts or even useful facts. But the point being, if you don't know Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the creator of heaven and earth, then having all of this information is useless. Okay, and I have one more. All right, tapping in on Esau's technology and science, right? It says here in 1 Timothy 6:20, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane and vain babblings. And that's what we have so much of in this world right now, is profane and vain babblings, man. And I'm going to get that word for profane and vain. It says in the Greek, the word for vain babblings is kenophonia, and it says empty discussion of vain and useless matters. And that's what people are doing, man. Discussing not, when is GTA 6 coming out? Oh, we got this before GTA 6. People, they're really mad that Armageddon is going to come before they get GTA 6. They're into this shit so much. This technology, like that goes to show you the Most High set that up, man, as a snare catching these people up. And it says profane is unhallowed, common, public place of men ungodly. Okay, profane, unhallowed. All right, the opposite of holy, unholy. It says heathenish, heathenish. That's a new word. I never even knew about that word. I'm gonna start using that. Heathenish, wicked, profane, base. Okay, so that's what these vain babblings is, man. The science falsely so called. All right, and the word there for falsely so called is falsely named, pseudonomos. All right, I forget what the word for that type of science is, but it's basically false science, because science just means knowledge. The word for science there is gnosis. Knowledge signifies in general intelligence, understanding. Okay, so beware of things that's called knowledge, but it's falsely so called, and that's what we see a lot of.
That's artificial. The devil literally named it artificial intelligence. You know, it's falsely, so it's false knowledge. It's not real. It's a counterfeit. You know, and the Lord said that in Second Thessalonians, that those that wouldn't didn't want to receive the love of the truth would be given over to this strong delusion, so that they should believe a lie, knowing that artificial intelligence is for its namesake artificial, but people believe it. They believe in the power of it. They believe in, you know, the wisdom of it. Okay, they believe in seeing something fake, but don't even care that it's fake. That's where we're at right now. Where that you know it's fake, but because it has deceived all of your senses, you are willing to accept it as being true. And if that's how, you know, how low vibration and how left, right, and left-handed and satanic that you have gone, then that shows why the Lord's wrath is going to come upon you, because at that point, you really can't do nothing with somebody like that. Like, you know this is a lie, but you still want to believe it. Like brother Mitch, like the Matrix, right? That one guy, right? He said, "I know that this is fake, but I'm okay with it." So at that point, your mind is gone, right? You can't do nothing with that. And this is why it's beautiful that the Lord gave us the truth, because we are standing stiffly, right, for the truth, right, striving for the truth until death. People would rather live a lie, right, than to die for the truth. And you're going to receive death because you want it a lot. So, you know, if nobody else got nothing else, we can close it out. So, you know, with that, Lord willing, this is edifying unto the elect, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. And until next time, Shalom, and to the elect.